match, the first one of the tournament, as Cloud9 fights to stay in the tournament, and so do the Yowie Flash Wolves. Let's take a look at the bracket to see the games that we've already played today and the ones that are coming up here in Group A. As we know, the very first game that was played today, the GE Tigers ran over Cloud9 in that bracket, and then we just saw that SK Gaming, after winning their first game, also lost to the GE Tigers. They are both going to play tomorrow. GE Tigers, of course, already qualified for the semifinal. SK Gaming still has a chance. That brings us onto the game now. Cloud9 versus the Yowie Flash Wolves, and after their performance in the very first game of the day, there was a lot to work on, and you actually said during that game, this Cloud9 can't beat the Yowie Flash Wolves.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but I think that they personally just have to completely forget about that game. Like, just remove it all from your mind and just play as you have played before. You have a lot less expectations now, and you have no pressure on you. You know, before you were facing the #1 team in the world, now you're just facing the #1 team in the region. Well, you know, it's a little bit unfair to say, some might argue, than say that the #1 team in Korea, as the Tigers, could be the best in the world, but I think that from what we have seen so far, that's no longer disputable.
I'd actually completely disagree with you there. I think that they had no pressure playing the GE Tigers because everyone expected the GE Tigers to win this game, but everyone's expecting, at least Cloud9's fans here are expecting Cloud9 to beat the Yowie Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, and I think you do have some legitimacy in saying that if they play like they did against GE, it was such an uncoordinated, unthoughtful play style that they were bringing out against GE. Random tower dives without adequate vision. That's not the calculation we're used to seeing from C9. They've always been that very smart team that beats you with the rotations, even if they can't individually outplay you. And this was just wild, just insanely reckless play, and you can't do that. They would lose to any team in NA playing like that.
One of the things that stands out for me was the draft that the Tigers did against Cloud9, in which they forced Meteos to pick a nerfed Jarvan over the Lee Sin, which in my opinion was a mistake. They should have most likely gone with the Lee. Now, for the Yowie Flash Wolves to actually do well in this matchup, I think that they have to take a similar approach in the draft as to what the Tigers have done, targeting Meteos and just putting the playmaking jungler in on a nerf champion.
Yeah, some other things that we've said were weak from Cloud9. The Zed pick, I mean, once again, it was banned out as well. Would you just let High have that Zed in this one as the Yowie Flash Wolves and just prioritize Meteos?
Well, I think Maple's a great Zed player, so there's a possibility we could see it as an early part of the draft here, but since C9's on blue side, I think we're going to see it banned out again. Maple has the depth in terms of other assassins to get fed on with his Ahri, with his LeBlanc, so just take away High's champion in that case.
Yeah, and then go ahead, Joe.
I think realistically as well here, if you look at the Yowie Flash Wolves, they'll have prepared heavy for SK. And realistically, they've probably prepared heavy for Cloud9 as well, because looking at that matchup, they'd already expected who they'll play in that second round if they lose to SK Gaming. So I want to say they're going to come in here with something smarter, but I also expected that against SK Gaming, and they let SK play SK's game, and you just can't allow a team to do that at this stage.
We do see Cloud9 there backstage preparing, I believe Charlie with the notes in his hand to make sure that they have a good draft. Lemon scratching his head, that's not good. Actually, it's High with the notes there. Maybe a little bit worried, but as said, I do think that they must be nervous coming in. This is the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, and one game and you're out, and the Yowie Flash Wolves could play freed, although they really want to make a mark here.
Yeah, the fact is that they need now this quiet time, if you like, as a group to actually prepare for this game and make sure that they're all on the same page, because that last game, they just weren't on the same page. I would have actually loved to have heard the communication between Cloud9, especially that top lane double failed dive, because that was just so uncoordinated. And we saw Smeb just kind of walking around saying, okay, they're going to dive me again, and I'm just going to kill them again. And the GE Tigers looked much better, obviously, than Cloud9. I don't think you can safely say that the Flash Wolves look better than Cloud9, because that's obviously a totally unfair comparison to make. But Flash Wolves, if they play the same way they did against SK Gaming and Cloud9 play the same way they did against GE Tigers, Flash Wolves have a real chance here.
Especially when we're talking about underperforming top laners as well. Balls has been struggling on champions that are not called Maokai. Even that Rumble when he got the first blood, sure, he wasn't in the greatest matchup, but just way overly aggressive on a champion he has been solid on, and his team fighting hasn't been there. We've seen him try and play with Lissandra. It's not great. His Gnar rage management isn't good either. So can Stake, again, we know Stake's got this Aurelia pick. That would have been much more consistent in terms of his teleporting and his playmaking in the last game because he doesn't have to play around that Gnar rage bar.
Now, I think for this matchup, though, these teams are both two that have been really struggling in the laning phase in their respective losses, and I think that the team that's going to come out ahead is going to be the one that focuses on the laning phase. You just have to recognize that, look, this other team could not handle laning phase, and neither could we. Just go for really strong lanes. Don't go for the Rumble. Don't go for the Maokai. Try to get a Lissandra. Try to get some lane bullies in all your matchups and just snowball from there because the teams have gotten very desperate in terms of when it comes to the team fighting once the laning phase is over. So I feel like the team that kind of focus on the bully lanes and top lane, perhaps a Hecarim with Ignite, could be the determining factor for this matchup.
Yeah, and I'm going to go on a limb here and say that Cloud9 is going to look nothing like the team we've seen in the beginning, and I think they can win it in the lanes and in the later decisions. We did see the OE Flash Wolves going in for dragons and contesting fights that they normally shouldn't have at that timing. It's kind of the Unicorns of Love syndrome, as we've seen it in the EUL LCS a couple of times, but I think that's the kind of mistakes more likely that Cloud9 can really punish in terms of strategy.
Exactly, and just as the SK forced Stake to make teleport mistakes, I think should be the goal for Cloud9 in this matchup. You know, you're not going to get that big of a difference in the bottom lane, especially when you've seen that the Flash Wolves play these Janna Caitlyn, these really strong lanes that are kind of difficult to kill. So just really focus on the weak link, and you know, it's a little not too hopeful just because of the underperforming balls that we have seen so far. But you know, you gotta go for it, really.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out in the draft in just a bit. For now, though, we're going to meet the teams on stage with Chobra.
Thank you, Shocks. We here at Intel Extreme Masters have been taking some tips from the most successful recent animated films, and we're going to hit you hard with the feels early on in the weekend. It's already time to decide which team will be playing their last match here in Katowice. First up, the team that took San Jose. Will they be able to take Katowice this weekend? From North America, it's going to be Cloud9. And their opponents from Taiwan. Will they be able to win over the fans in Taiwan, here in Katowice, and around the world? It's going to be the Yowie Flash Wolves. Gentlemen, there's no more holding back. It's all on the line for these two teams. So let's get right into the picks and bans back at the expert desk.
Thank you very much. We will get into picks and bans in just a second, but they're still standing there. So obviously they can't pick and ban yet. What are we thinking here in terms of must bans for either team? The Yowie Flash Wolves did come out with a Caitlyn first pick in the last time, and we've seen that that is not something that has been working out here in general.
I think that the Flash Wolves have to target Meteos like the GE Tigers have done and force him to pick a little bit of a less powerful jungler. Now, if Cloud9 has done the research, I think that they should go for perhaps a first pick Lee Sin if they actually do target out Meteos and force the Lee into Rengar matchup and really snowball the laning phase that way, because Rengar is not really the champion to really impact the lanes pre-6. And If we don't see that, though, I think perhaps still a Rumble ban, because you do have to give credit for the previous wins that Cloud9 has acquired on these champions.
Yeah, GE, though, with that Nidalee ban, we have to remember that Karsa also a Nidalee player here, so that actually is a contested pick in this matchup. Meanwhile, it just is not with GE. They do not play Nidalee. They are not accustomed to using that champion. So if there's another power pickup, maybe that comes into play. But I think you're right. Shutting down Meteos in the end does look like the key to success, because we just haven't seen that laning strength coming out of C9. So if you remove Meteos' abilities to affect the lanes, then maybe you can trust on somebody like Maple to outplay.
Well, we are going to be moving into picks and bans here, and we'll see exactly what they're going to go for. Both of these teams, of course, probably need to have a change of mindset and a change of style coming into this elimination match. Of course, the loser will be going home. The winner gets another chance tomorrow, where they'll play SK Gaming for the second slot from Group A going into the semi-finals. We can see already here the bans coming out. Nidalee taken away, Rengar taken away by Cloud9. The Rumble ban from the Yowie Flash Wolves. Kind of expect it, even though, Balls has been falling more onto that Maokai pick. His Rumble is still very good.
Now, I'm expecting to see here a first pick Rek'Sai from Cloud9, if not banned by the Flash Wolves. 3 junglers have already been targeted, and Rek'Sai being the last remaining real powerhouses here. And to be honest, I feel like the Flash Wolves have forced themselves into a poor situation. Either you ban the Rek'Sai, or you take the Lee Sin into the Jarvan matchup, which we saw the Tigers willingly take that and be very successful.
That is a bit of a head scratcher. Let's see what they actually ban here as we do tick down.
They seem to be taking their time about this one. Actually going for Graves there, wanting to take that away from Sneaky. Actually a champion which he's got a 3-0 record on in the North American LCS right now. And you called it right there. Rek'Sai let through, and that will be Cloud9's first choice. However, it's left Maokai up here, and it's left Zed up as well, which I'm sure Maple is going to take away. There it is, the lock-in.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all. We have seen those 1v1 plays from Maple where he does, the Flash Wolves really do play to get him ahead. So by giving up the Rek'Sai, they make a decision that they are going to get a more stable champion, I think, for Stake up in the top lane that isn't so dependent on timings, which he and his teammates didn't quite seem to be able to hit. And then there's the Zed pick as well to take away from High.
I think really interesting here is that we've never really seen Cloud9 be given a taste of their own medicine with the Maokai Zed picks, the staples that they have had in their comeback victories in the NALCS, making their way back to their previous best forms, but they have never really had to face a team that was willing to take the Maokai and the Zed, and Cloud9 locking in the Corki because they know how important the Corki is when you're running that Zed composition. So smart by them in locking in the Corki, and potentially the Flash Wolves could have benefited from taking the Corki rather than the Zed from the get-go.
I think they've never really faced a team that have left Maokai and Zed up there, and you're taking a jungler away and they just pick both of them. They may get their hands on Janna this time around, but Corki Morgana, solid bottom lane pairing.
I think the Janna is just critical because now they're going to have it if we do see C9 play that Kennen again. Now, Lissandra could come into play here as well, but, frankly, I have not been impressed by Balls nor High's Lissandras that we've seen so far. It's been really lackluster in terms of team fighting, laning, pretty much everything. They flexed it a couple times, but other than that, it just hasn't been great.
What I want to see here with the Morgana pick is, though, Cloud9 showing a little more flexibility, hopefully, and putting that in the top lane, because you have a winning matchup against the Maokai and be able to constantly pressure and snowball off the laning phase, allowing Meteos to really devote himself to the middle and bottom parts of the map. And the Jarvan pick, which is what we thought would be taken by the team that just did not get the Rek'Sai, well, we saw how weak Jarvan was in the early clear in the game that Cloud9 played it, and it's just really, the nerfs really affect him. A lot of armor from his E, and it's just going to have to be a lot of focus in the top lane with the Maokai gang camping for perhaps Stake, just because Janna is not good Zed, and neither is Zed.
It's funny when we talk about the last game, Meteos forced onto that nerf Jarvan, and they've kind of done it to themselves here, although, there are other options still available there. Lee Sin comes to mind as a big one, which you may decide to go for instead, but Jarvan locked in. Lissandra, the 2 picks here for Cloud9. So you said you've not been impressed really with Balls or with High on Lissandra. Looking like High's going to be playing that one this time around.
Well, it's into that Zed matchup where you can dodge the death mark. There are ways to make it work, and especially in the late game. But if we look at this fast push strategy, if Zed gets rolling and with the Caitlyn, with the Janna looking like they're going to be locked in again, they're setting themselves up for a nice split push.
I think a little worrying factor about this, though, is that we have seen Stake being somewhat lackluster, and against his team that is going to kind of want to engage onto you with the Lissandra, with the Morgana, he's going to want to build that Righteous Glory, so the AP damage from the flash rolls is going to be minimal. And Morgana, the Lissandra, and the Gnar can really itemize a lot of armor, and then eventually the Caitlyn, the Zed, and even that little bit of armor shred from the Jarvan just won't matter, and the Legen would simply go into the Cloud9's favor just from draft.
I mean, you see that almost every game on Zed, though, and that's why I'm not a big fan of Zed as a champion right now in the current meta, because you go late, everybody's going to get QSS, Zhonya's, especially in the double AP era we live in right now, and he's just not going to be effective. You have to hit a very specific split push window.
Yeah, and I think that really they really put themselves into a hole by giving up the Corki when you wanted to take that Maokai Zed composition.
Yeah, picks and bans are locked in. One of these teams is going home, and one of them is staying in the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Who will it be? We'll find out right after this.
All right, guys, it is our first elimination match here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. I'm Doa. With me is Quickshot and Deficio, Cloud9, Yoey Flash Wolves. One of these guys is moving on to tomorrow. One is going home. How do you guys call this one?
I mean, looking at the pick and ban phase, I don't really like what the Yoey Flash Wolves have been doing here. I don't like Maokai Zed together, because once you log into Maokai and the Zed, you know it's going to be like purely physical damage coming from your carries, and Zed and Caitlyn in this case, because Koik was taken away as well. So now, going late game, you're going to have Rek'Sai and Gnar being basically unkillable.
It's going to be so difficult for Sneaky's Corki, though, to kill a Maokai on the other side. So I think both teams have got similar sort of weaknesses. A lot of magic damage on the side of Cloud9, but it's going to come down to these team fights, Doa.
That's right. Welcome to Summoner's Rift once again. Cloud9 versus Yoey Flash Wolves. The Fnatic skins have been popular today, haven't they?
Oh, Fnatic Corki.
Yeah.
Pretty badass, honestly.
That's pretty cool. I like the Fnatic Janna. It's not bad.
We have Fnatic Jarvan. No, Casa, ruining everything.
Not today. The one thing I do want to see from Cloud9 is whether or not they can adapt from their game earlier today. There's been so much discussion about whether or not that was Cloud9's actual level and whether it was their intent. But what we can say is, as a team, they were down on themselves. They didn't really have a lot of faith in a victory, and I think that's why they played so recklessly and aggressively.
You know what, we all talked to them earlier this week, and they did seem so down, they're beating themselves up about this GE Tigers match. Well, that's behind them now. I'd really like to see the Cloud9 that has become, in recent weeks, another force to be reckoned with in North America. I feel like they can certainly do it here, but they have to prove themselves. It is do or die for Cloud9.
It is, and now as their expert desk were talking about, the expectations on Cloud9 to perform. GE Tigers, you know, hey, you lose to one of the best teams in the world. It happens. Now, Yoey Flash Wolves looked okay against SK Gaming in certain parts of the game, but were basically not on the same level, I think it's fair to say. SK Gaming got ahead, they won the game. Now, obviously, GE Tigers managed to beat SK and are in the semifinals for them. And the winner of this match will face SK tomorrow, to see who will also join the GE Tigers in the semifinal.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a matter of who avoids losing, I think. because of all of the pressure out in the group stages. The one thing I do want to see is how the Flash Wolves play around Cloud9's initial laning phase. It doesn't look to be any sort of lane swaps from either of the squads, because Flash Wolves, I think, dropped the ball against SK, maybe not reading their opponents and their weaknesses. It's a little more difficult because Cloud9 are more diverse than SK Gaming are.
Yeah, we'll be standing in lanes here though, and we just saw what Cloud9 did here at level 1. They walk into the enemy blue buff, take this small golem away. So this simply means you need one less minion or melee minion in their lane to hit your level 2 on both your Morgana and your Caitlyn. Morgana and your Corki in this case.
You know, it is kind of an interesting difficulty that the OE Flash Wolves have in that they're playing teams with such completely different styles than C9 and SK, because their game against SK is going to be very, very different than what they're going to face here. Nice dark binding from Lemonation, but we're pretty much used to him hitting nearly all of those on Morgana, aren't we?
Yeah, he actually had a good Morgana game earlier today.
Wasn't bad, yeah.
Well, I mean, until the game was completely gone.
He hit his dark bindings
yes,
anyway. I mean, that part of it, yeah, it was great. But the rest of it, not so much.
It's very sad when that's the only thing you can really...
We're looking for positives here, right? You're welcome, NA.
There was that level 2 Deficio, but NL and Sword Art playing relatively defensively despite eating a couple of those bindings from Lemonation.
Still, you're losing the early push on a Caitlyn in the Caitlyn Janna lane, and we've seen this matchup last game, Forgiven against Prey. Corgi in the mid game is just so much stronger, so if you don't win your laning phase on a Caitlyn, you don't really do anything. You're gonna need 3 or 4 items before you can add any value to your team, and that's a massive problem when you lose this early push, also because Cloud9 got that small golem. To correct myself, it was only Sneaky who got the XP, so he got the early level 2, and then of course Elimination got it after. They got the pressure in this bottom lane. Mid lane, of course, is fairly even. It's a bit of a farm fest. Top lane though, Meteos is looking for a piece of steak.
That's right, a big bite of steak. But will he stick the fork in? That's the question. He's got an opportunity here. He's going to be maybe seen coming in. Steak, there we go. Ball's jumping in. Steak might need to burn a summoner here. There's a knockup from Rek'Sai trying to get away. There's the flash used. Is this going to be first blood? He doesn't have a lot of health up. Flash from Balls, they really want it. Cloud9, will they get this first blood? They will. No, they won't. They won't. Meteos, he's so low now. This is dangerous. They have to back off. What a colossal mistake by Cloud9. I can't believe they didn't get that.
I think Balls canceled his auto attack in the very end.
It must have been something like that, yeah, checking the auto attack. But man, that one feels bad. It looks like we've got a bit of a pause here after that as well. But that is not the start that Cloud9 was looking for.
I don't want to over dramatize, but earlier this morning, Meteos in particular was missing skill shots, was not mechanically playing to what we expect from Cloud9 players. Cloud9 as a team made some very sloppy mistakes. You can judge the decision making in the dives all you want, but they were missing skill shots on those dives. Talking about cancelled autos, talking about jumping in there, overcommitting again from Meteos. Cloud9 not starting this game off very well.
Well, so this wasn't really about Meteos too much, because it was more, he was expecting obviously Balls to get the kill.
Sure, yeah.
And then you wouldn't have to flash and that would have been fine. But as soon as he saw Balls cancel the auto attack, he's like, oh damn, I have to flash in now and try and get him.
Go for it,
and
right.
that was too late, so just big mistake there. They got the flash at least, but in the end you now blow 2 flashes for that, so definitely not in favor of Cloud9, except for the fact that Balls can still stay in the lane and farm, where we're going to have to see the teleport probably being used by a Steak to get back in lane.
I mean, you're right, yeah, Balls is probably going to get a bit of a CS edge from this at any rate. So, you know, let's see what the summoners were. Overall, you could say it's a bit of a win depending on how much CS Balls can get, but I think that flash on Meteos is going to really hurt, and him not being on the map, having to recall,
yeah.
We'll see if it actually does benefit C9.
I don't know. I just think for a team that is already down on themselves, within 4 minutes to fail what should have been an easy first blood, it's just so difficult.
Yeah,
the psychological pressure this is going to put on the guys is going to be immense.
You don't want to tilt now, and I think you could make an argument that they may have came into the GE match already tilting a bit.
For sure.
This isn't going to help so much, is it?
No, of course not, but again, it's not the end of the world. Nobody died for it. It's not like they jumped in and gave him a double kill or anything. Balls will get a bit of farm. We did see, however, the difference between like Jarvan and Rek'Sai. Now, we talked so much about junglers today. There's been a lot of jungle bans coming in. The nerf to Jarvan where he lost the armor on his E. It simply means his early clear is a lot weaker than it normally is. So once he gets to level 3 and gets a double buff, he needs to recall, buy his Trailblazer, buy a ward, and then he comes back to farming or potentially ganking. And that's where we saw Meteors here using the Rek'Sai early on to just clear, still sits on Hunter's Machete, then he goes for an early gank where Jarvan cannot respond in time, and that was a good use of the Rek'Sai and why people like her so much compared to, let's say, Jarvan at the moment.
Yeah, that's right, and it looks like we're coming out of the pause now. Meteos coming back into the top lane. Looks like they're just going to push this one up all the way to the tower, not going to give Stake rather any opportunity to get
they want to force
CS
TP.
next beat. Yep, and they will.
Yeah, very well played. Fast pushing the lane up here. Again, the Jarvan is not nearby, and you just want to see that TP being used. So now Balls on his side, he can run back to lane, won't really lose anything before the wave hits his tower, and you now have that global advantage to try and make a play.
Yeah, we do see double Dawn's rings for Stake as well. So most likely going to follow it with that Righteous Glory. It's something that we're seeing become more and more standard, I think, is the term for the top laners in this situation. There is Balls returning to lane to Officio. And we haven't seen too much of High in this middle lane against Maple, both reaching near level 6. High opting to go for the Flash Ignite, no defensive summoners this time around. We'll see how effectively he can play on this Lissandra. Not had the greatest of showings in recent weeks in the North American LCS.
No, for now he's just going to sit and farm. He needs to get that arm guard and obviously the hourglass fairly early on to prevent the all-in. But obviously, I mean, this matchup is a farm lane because...
Ooh, here we go. Cars are coming in. They get the flash from High.
Quick little play. High has to go back to base now. So yeah, it is a farm lane because obviously Lissandra at 6 can just ult to herself as Zed tries to kill her.
Right.
But this gives suddenly a lot of pressure for the Yowie Flash Wolves in this mid lane. You got the summoner blown, and also you get to push in the wave and get a good back timing on your own mid laner, which is very important. No potions for High. He just had enough gold for an arm guard. He obviously wanted more. Elimination though.
Oh,
he's dropping low.
elimination, knocked up. A lot of damage coming in from Sword Art and NL, but not quite able to get that kill. Dangerous business for C9 this bot lane though.
And it's the power switch. NL and Sword Art were struggling in the early levels against Sneaky Lemon landing, binding after binding. But as Caitlyn and Jen are starting to push a little more aggressively, they seem to be taking some more control of that lane. We did see a sniff from Casa, but he decided to go back into his jungle.
Well, I just think
NL and Sword Art.
I just really like that play in the mid lane where he came over the wall, just easy forcing of the flash on High, and it's stuff like that that gets you really scared if you're Cloud9, especially if you're High.
You can see High here as well. So he was forced back first because he had to use the flash. Only got an arm guard, no potions, no wards. It's a terrible situation for a mid laner. So he was basically forced to go back and shop. That's why he just pushed a wave, went back to base a second time. Now he has wards, now he has a potion at least, and then he returns to lane. So this is basically just bought a lot of time for Maple to time his own back, his items really well, and not lose any farm on it. So nice little setup in this mid lane for them. And we know this team, they focus on Maple so much. He's the big carry for them. If he gets a lead, he starts roaming to the bottom lane, and that's how NL suddenly gets a lot of items or kills himself.
Well, Maple definitely in a position to start that play. High will be doing battle with him. 2 green wards in High's inventory. We'll see if he wants to make any sort of plays around the map. We do see that Casa is moving into play. Does have the flash and the flag and drag, but High gets out with that glacial path.
Yeah, it was very close. I think the Karza had been like a couple steps forward. He might have been able to knock him out of the E with the QE combo from Jarvan, but just barely not getting there in time. Either way, a lot of pressure put onto High, and you can see that paying off. The CS lead's starting to grow a little bit for Maple.
Yeah, definitely not going too well for High. I mean, it's tough with him because he's always the target of these big tournaments here. Teams will try and ban him out or pick away his champions. In this case, he had the Yowie Flash Wolf. They gave the Rek'Sai to C9 and traded for Maokai and Zed, 2 of the most common picks for Cloud9 this split. So that was pretty smart in the pick and ban phase.
Yeah.
Problem is still Zed and Maokai together just gives you that all physical damage lineup later on that can really hurt you if you don't close out the game in time, because they're 2 big tanks on the side of Cloud9 with Rek'Sai and Gnar to basically shut you down.
So I've got a question to the guys and to everybody watching. High has been the topic of discussion in his champion pool for such a long time. I pitched this idea to Deficio and Doe a second ago. At what point do you say Balls takes over the mantle of NA Scara? Of having a small, limited effective champion pool?
I think we could be a little bit closer here. We'll see how it ends up going. I'm not willing to call that one just yet.
I think it's interesting. There's a little bit of room for discussion. Yes, you can argue High is making more decisions in game, but Doa, balls and Stake, they're going at it.
Yeah, that's right. Alt's use Meteos coming up. He's going to try to make a plan here. I think Stake's in a little bit of trouble. He's still got that flash, but will he be able to use it? No, actually, his flash just not quite up yet. There's a knockup from Stake, but it will be first blood going to Meteos Cloud9. Here comes Karza for a bit of equalization.
Well, let's see what he can do. Chilling Smite is down the flank. Stake is interrupted. Meteos catches Karza, gets a second kill on the board, makes up for the misplay earlier.
That's the Meteos we know and love.
Such a nice setup, and we see Cloud9, they put all the focus on Stake up here. He's the weak link on this team, and we often see how Karza just ignores him. He just leaves him up there on his own, and he's going to gank the bottom lane, he's going to gank the mid lane instead. He came in there trying to make a counter play. Not the right decision, and Meteos 2 quick kills for him.
Yeah, that's the opposite of what the Flash Rolls have been trying to do. A little bit of action in the bot lane now, and L in a bit of trouble. Teleport coming in, though.
Oh, let's see what happens. Sneaky's managed to get the kill as Lemonation's peeling away. It looks like Balls cancelled that teleport, but Stake, he wants some well-done Lemonation. The knockup's going to come in and secure that kill for Soldart. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Not sure if Lemonation was a bit surprised by the cancelled CP from Balls there, because he kind of stayed trying to finish off the kill on NL. Instead, though,
yeah, I think he might have wanted to go down there and be a part of that, you know, Meganar or not.
Obviously, he was hoping for Yowie Flash Wolf to just kind of back away once he saw the TP.
Yeah.
But as soon as it was cancelled, Stake just realized he could stay and kill Lemonation. So
that is a situation,
misunderstanding,
yeah. Yeah, it's going to cost Cloud9 a dragon, though. So right after that double kill for Meteos, kind of things going the other way in this game. And Yowie Flash was able to pick up a kill and a dragon.
C9 can push the top tower here and get some D-wards in the jungle. Because we know there's so many guys on the bottom side from the Yowie Flash Wolves, they are at least staying there now, not hard pushing it in or fast pushing it, but Meteos, he's sitting ready for a potential dive.
And important to note that in the last moment or two, High actually invaded into Yowie Flashwell's jungles, got rid of both of those green wards. So Cloud9 have got a lot of information to work with on the Flashwell's top half of the map.
And you can really see how Balls is putting all his focus on this one-on-one lane, because he's gone for Hexdrinker first into a Maokai. That's normally not a good idea, because Maokai is not going to kill you, and obviously you are against so much physical damage otherwise from the Yowie Flash Wolves. Nothing is really going to pop that Hexdrinker, but he's doing it simply for the one-on-one lane. That's why Meteos is staying as well. They want this tower, they want the kill.
Yeah, Stake trying to defend that tower, but okay. With the minion waves being the way they are, he'll be okay for the moment, but certainly a risky situation up there.
I love the information, though. If you look at all the wards, Meteos and Balls are going to have a lot of time to react to anybody moving up.
Oh, certainly.
So, at the very least, a little bit of planning should secure them that turret. Should drop in a moment or two. And Sneaky playing very aggressive with this Phage and Sheen already completed.
Well, it certainly should. I mean, Sword Art wasn't really in lane when we start off, and any damage you can get onto NL is good damage.
Still, top lane down now. Cloud9 gets the first tower.
Yeah, first blood, first tower, a couple kills, but the first dragon going to Flash Wolves looks like High doing a lot of damage to this mid lane turret as well. Oh, here we go, though. Karza coming in onto Elimination, traps him in the Cataclysm, and the ace in the hole helped them pick up that kill.
That looks so easy.
It was easy. It looked easy because it pretty much doesn't get any easier than that. You trap the Morgana and the Jarvan ult. That's it. Oh, meanwhile, some more action in the mid lane here. Maple in trouble.
Well, he gets sent to the Frozen Tomb. Meteos and High, they reply 1-for-1.
It's kind of weird looking at these two teams right now, though. Cloud9, they know to invest all the wards and focus on the top side, and yet Lemonation tries to clear a ward on his own when he knows there can be a Jarvan nearby. Yeah. He ends up dying for it. And then in the mid lane, Mabel staying towards the top side of the mid lane, again knowing that Cloud9 was up there with so many champions, and obviously just an easy setup to kill him. So two misplays by the teams and quickly capitalized on by the other ones.
Yeah, overall, though, C9 looking pretty good, pulling out to about a 3,000 gold lead at 13 minutes, which is certainly nothing to be unhappy about.
No, not at this stage. And with High grabbing that hourglass at 13 minutes on the clock, going to set Cloud9 up for quite a powerful mid-game spike. Once Sneaky gets that Trinity Force completed, and Balls maybe gets a little bit more HP, that could work into their favor. But Meteos, he's looking for Karza. He's going in.
He wants to get this red buff, and he certainly does grab that. Karza not able to respond. Stake not getting there in time, and Rek'Sai will just tunnel her way out of there.
Meteos is so far ahead and compared to Karza on this Jarvan, he can do whatever he wants. His lanes, look at both Balls and High here, pushed fairly far up as well into the Yowie Flash Wolf territory, so they could quickly move into the jungle and help. And you know this Corki is going to take that tower on his own at some point. Once he gets Trinity Force, Caitlyn won't be able to respond to him, and therefore Cloud9 don't even have to put 4 guys to take the bot lane tower. It's gonna die on its own. Keep pressuring the map here. You've played around Stake so far. and he's fed you pretty well.
Yeah, true enough. Oh, Elimination. Not quite hitting the binding there. We've got some time until Dragon, and you can see Yoy Flash Wolves, they know they were down in vision. They're trying to bring it back and got a little bit more map control in the bot.
And doing the best they can. I quite like Meteos' tunnel placement. Got some defensive tunnels across the C9 jungle and even some deep ones in the Flash Wolves half of the map. So if he needs to respond, he can. Cloud9 may lose their tower in this engage. The Frostbomb defends it. They've caught NL, but Casa is nearby, so this could get explosive. Sneaky and Lemon wisely don't go in the door.
That turret has like maybe one auto attack remaining on it. It's going to go down extremely fast, and the Flash Wolves want that to go down.
Meteor should just go to the top lane right now, because they're pushing in the 2 lanes at once. Seems they just want to back away. They want to play it safe, but they had the pressure in the 2 lanes on the top side. They saw a lot of guys on the bottom lane, and once Casa shows himself as well, that would open up for a very easy dive onto Stake, take another tower up there, as long as the Sandra is putting pressure. TP is ready for balls. He's sitting in base now, so he can join the bottom lane if he wants to. No Mega now, however.
Is starting to move down as well, too. But it looks like Dragon's up in about a minute 30, so the teams need to start being aware of that. I think UA Flash Wolves should be able to get this turret without too much trouble.
I think,
or not.
Pushing them away.
Okay.
A breath of fresh air would knock it down, but Yoy Flash Wolves simply can't breathe on the tower.
And the
wave
thing,
clear from Sneak, he's too good.
Well, the thing that's kind of funny about this is that if they push too hard for that, they may get chunked out enough where Dragon becomes a real possibility for Cloud9, so they need to be careful about that.
Or TP coming from balls behind them, and suddenly you have a few kills. I mean, trading the top lane, but Cloud9 is putting all the focus on this Dragon now. You've got the Trinity Force completed on your AD carry. Caitlyn has not been able to use a strong early game to anything, basically. This is where Cloud9 wants to fight. And also be annoying. Poor
That's
Casa,
so huge.
Man. Leave that man alone.
Such a great chunk of damage in the top lane, though. Mega Gnar has just pinged, but Flash Wolves not really in place to make this happen. He's looking for the engage. The Glacial Path is going in. He's caught Soil Darts in the 2. Meteos is now being hammered on by NL. But here comes Balls!
Balls throws him against the wall, and he's going to focus down on NL. NL flashing in. Meanwhile, Meteos in the backlines being annoying. Oh, but here comes Maple on Zed. Meteos gets the double, though. Are they going to be able to get any equalizing kills? Maple manages to take out High. But there's still Seps up C9 for some nice control down the bot lane. Maple's still in trouble. That is 3 kills for Cloud9, and they should be able to grab a Dragon off this. What do you think?
Just a great use of their power spike here. And yeah, Dragon should go to Cloud9 as well.
Dragon's
we just talked about how, again, you have Hourglass on Lissandra, you got Trinity Force completed on your Corki. You want to fight, so they seek it, they go for it, get a few kills, get a tower, they get everything.
Well played by Cloud9 at the end of the day. A little bit of scariness as the fight got dragged on multiple fronts, but Meteos 5-0-1, got the Tabi, got the completed jungle item and some HP from that Sidestone with a bunch of kills. He's currently sitting on 2,000 gold, but they've caught Karsa once again.
They get the flash out of Stake. Meanwhile, Karsa tries to come in. He's already solo health. Balls running away with that Mega Gnar. Meanwhile, Stake chases Sneaky in a lot of trouble. NL picks up the kill there. Meanwhile, the Dragon still very low. This one's going to go over to the Flash Wolves.
Well, wait for it. High is on his way. Got 2 kills now, though.
Oh, you think they're going to be able to do it?
Well, High is here.
They do. Burst it down.
He got through.
I spoke too soon.
Tough to call at least. A lot of fights going back and forth here.
That was
in
weird,
this game.
Fisher.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
That was a bit of an odd Dragon fight, but in the end, a Dragon fight that Cloud9 can be very happy with.
Gave 2 kills to the Caitlyn, but that's not really too much of a problem because she still needs a lot of time.
Yeah.
Before she's going to be useful.
We don't want her to be useless.
No, we don't want her to be useless.
It's been a bit of a messy game, though, on both sides. It's been a little bit of back and forth, not the most smooth decision-making here, but for now, C9 is ahead. There we go.
Power.
Finally, the auto takes on that bot turret, and so Yoe will finally claim their first turret of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dora. There's been a little bit of misplays here and there, but overall, Cloud9 have been more aggressive. They've been more in the face of the Flash Wolves, and it's thanks to that sort of proactive gameplay that has allowed Cloud9 to get 3 towers, to get the Dragons, to have an advantage in kills and the gold advantage. The only thing is, can they keep it up against Stake? And the answer seems to be yes.
They're trying to right now.
Trying to.
It's been very clear there's been a mismatch in the jungle here. Rek'Sai is just so much stronger than Jarvan on the current patch, and Cloud9 used it well. They invaded into the jungle, found Karsa a few times, took his buffs, kept ganking his top laner. Now they're even going to bind him around his own red buff. I mean, that guy cannot get a break.
You know, it seems like this Rek'Sai first pick has been worth it for C9. High is doing perfectly fine on Lissandra, and now C9 going in onto this red buff. Are they going to be able to find a fight here? They will. They'll get the ult onto Maple. He's in big trouble. That's yet another kill. At this point, is Meteos taking too many of these? Should he be trying to give kills to the other positions a little bit more?
Yeah, of course you should. I mean, you want your 2 carries. You want the Lissandra and Corgi may need to pick up the kills. You're already going to be tanky enough just by getting 6, now 7 early kills. But at the same time, by you getting a Randy and Zoman and a Thornmail very early against a Zed, Caitlyn, double 80 carry or double physical damage, that's not bad either for Cloud9. It means he can basically go in on his own and just tank everything.
Yeah, Maple unable to get anything done. And this is what you touched on in picks and bans, Deficio. That death mark going to be so difficult to deal damage to High. Lemonation's working his way towards the hourglass as well. And with all the armor Meteos is picking up, at some point Maple's going to become less effective, and Flash Wolves are too far behind to split push as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't really split push against a fully tanky Gnar and a full tanky Rek'Sai who also has a global ulti. So you can have 2 guys sitting in each lane, just wait at the tower and just wave click. The Zed won't be able to join the fight on the other side of the map. So you got 2 ways of basically shutting down the split push and force team fights instead on the side of C9.
Balls is about to get his Sunfire Cape finished as well, too. So this is quickly becoming like Zed's worst nightmare. A whole team full of health and armor. This is not a good situation for Zed to be in.
No, the only good thing, I guess, for Maple is you always build a lot of armor penetration on a Zed. But, I mean, if you don't have a target to pop, you're basically going to be useless because you don't add anything else in a fight as a Zed.
Very true.
Let's also be a little bit fair now. Cloud9, yes, they are ahead. They've got a decent lead. They should, in theory, be able to keep this lead up. But if you contrast this game to what SK did earlier in the day, there's quite big differences. Cloud9 not really having a great day on the stage.
Well, it seems like, I mean, in SK's game, they were just constantly pushing, just constantly putting the pressure onto lanes, and UAE Flash Wolves couldn't handle it. This time, Meteos is the one moving around the maps, making big plays. They're going to try to make a play here on Balls. Instead, UAE Flash Wolves trying to get a kill for themselves. Balls already getting very tanky. There's the death mark going down. Should be one they can pick up. They used so much on him, though. Wow. And that might give C9 a Baron here.
Well, let's see what Cloud9 can do. We do see both Stake and NL moving into range. This could be dangerous indeed. Vengeful Maelstrom is going to buy some more time. Meteos is going for the gauge. They've got Never Losers, ironically, who lost today. Now they've turned their attention to Stake. They want him well done. Sword Art's joined the fight late. Baron has been stopped, though.
I think that Stake is pretty charred at this point. But C9, no Baron, but 2 more kills.
Like it, Dora? Is that the way you like it?
Medium well, usually for me. Sometimes I go back and forth, but either way, no matter how Stake is done in this game, it's not good for UAE Flash Wolves.
No, it is not looking too good for him. So
have we made enough Stake jokes yet?
I think so. There's been a lot of feeding people. He's been well done.
Have we hit our quota? All right.
Close to.
Is there ever a quota on Stake jokes?
We'll find out, right?
The answer should be no. The answer to that question should be no.
Oh, Meteos, man. This guy has just been such a superstar for Cloud9 in this game. You know, this is what they really needed to have happen, and he has been around the map, making things go Cloud9's way in all 3 lanes. And is there really anything UAE Flash Wolves can do against this? I mean, the Zed's not really doing a whole lot. Maokai, yeah, maybe you can get the bat lines, but again, you need damage to follow up that engage, right?
Exactly, and that's the problem, and why Cloud9 at the moment is kind of just chilling back, waiting for dragons to spawn and trying to react to what UAE Flash Wolves are doing, because they're the ones who are trying to make the plays. Yes, Balls went down, he was pushing the lane up, barely any wards to spot him, but he gave 2 kills for C9 because they started the Baron and forced Flash Wolves to come and stop it, and then suddenly you have the engage. Dragon 30 seconds should go over to Cloud9 as well. Might even be able to get more because Balls is already here. High is pushing the mid lane while Stake is stuck in the top lane. He has teleport ready though.
Wow, Cloud9 do have a lot of members, but they need to deal with all of that wave clear from Maple. Can actually cost them a tower, so Flash Wolves get their 2nd tower of the game, but Cloud9 is still grouped up on the bottom with Dragon spawning shortly.
It's a little bit weird play here. You don't have to give up that tower for free to a Maokai who's already been shot down quite a lot, and you have Rek'Sai ulti or a TP from your Gnar to kind of defend it easily and still get control of the Dragon where you can start to fight yourself. So I didn't feel like C9 had to give up that tower. Instead though, they really want to fight here.
Yeah.
Stake is coming in.
Dragon pulled out of the pit now by Cloud9. There's a teleport for Stake. He's going to get locked up immediately. Able to back off into his team
TP as well.
Yep. Balls could get there. He came in with the teleport dragon, activated yet again by Cloud9, and Yoli Flash Wolves just looks so uncomfortable here in the river. Are they going to be able to find an angle here? Balls ready to come over the wall at the moment's notice, and High comes in. He's going to get the ult onto Sword Art. Meanwhile, the counter engage from Yoi Flash Wolves. High, Zonia's Maple still with the kill, and what an ult for Balls, throwing everyone into the wall there. Lemon Nation Meteos coming through. Balls still in there again. Sword Art manages to get out. Here comes Sneaky, low health. It is okay though. NL and Sword Art on the run. Meteos, he's not done yet. Sneaky coming in. There's the kill onto NL. A double yet again for Meteos. How many times have we seen that this game? And C9 with another team fight win. 15-8 the kill score now. 2
for 4 in that engage, and it looked so scary for Cloud9.
For a second there,
we did see Maple get a kill early. NL was untouched for so long, but it seems the LCS teams are showing that Gnar can still be relevant. Look for Balls to get the stun against the wall in a moment.
So what C9 is doing here, they're waiting for Balls to build up his rage first. That's why once High goes in, you can see Balls not really joining. He's just standing in the back, auto attacking. He needs that Mega now, and that's why the Yoi Flash Wolf can single out High, get the first kill. Now Mega Gnar comes here when there's a nice juicy wall right there. Flash, smacked him into it, and that's how you win a team fight.
Absolutely,
so well
man.
played.
Really leaves Maple on his own too against the rest of Cloud9. Yeah, Ball's really doing work with that Gnar. Yeah, NL just kind of stuck around a little bit too much there. You need to get out of there.
It's so tough though, right? Because you're playing as Caitlyn that even though you've got Eye-Edge and Shiv, you're still not powerful enough. It takes such a long time for Caitlyn to become relevant or able to deal with the front line that Cloud9 has in front of them.
You're so fragile too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. You don't really add anything to your team except for maybe wave clear. But we have seen how Cloud9 don't really care about you defending your lanes. Instead, they walk into your jungle and try and collapse on you there, maybe even dive with Lissandra going in with Hourglass. Gonna be completed soon for Elimination as well. BT for the Corki, gonna be a QSS soon for Sneaky, and then suddenly again the Zed is completely out of targets. I mean, for Yoi Flash Wolves, we might see them just try and cut out these fights here, really time that Mega Gnar from Balls, and when the engage happens from High, you disengage with the Janna, you wait for the ultis to be popped, you wait for the Mega Gnar to run out, and then you try and re-engage and see if you can get down someone.
Or if you're the Flash Wolves, you sneak a tower when you realize Cloud9 is going to trade for the top. It's 1 for 1. Flash Wolves have not stopped though. We're in a little bit of a race scenario. This is a 2 for 1 trade. Flash Wolves, will they lose their inhibitor turret? That's the question. Sneaky and Balls, they're hammering away, and it seems like Stake is going to do the best he can to clear this wave out. Balls is going to go Mega. Look in the middle lane there, Doa. Cloud9 trying to chase the Flash Wolves down.
Yeah, I think they got their money's worth of that one. Getting the inhibitor up in top lane, or inhibitor turret rather, up in top lane, pretty big for Cloud9. They can still defend that mid lane inhibitor turret fairly easily, so I don't know if that was quite the best trade for Yoi Flash Wolves there. What do you think, Deficio?
It's the kind of trades you feel like you have to make when you're behind to try and get at least some global goal for yourself, but no opening up your inhibitor. Of course not worth it for the Yoi Flash Wolves. Did, however, get enough gold for Last Whisper now on your Caitlyn, so they're really trying to just find goals somewhere on the map. Gotta see if Never Lose can potentially carry the game for you. And that's why they're going for the trades, despite giving up an inhibitor tower.
I think it's actually super important that Cloud9 exposed that inhibitor turret, because it makes life so much more difficult for Flash Wolves. If they're ever caught out of position, if they ever give up control on the map, they lose that inhibitor, and the ability to buy time and farm and just wave clear at the inhibitor turret is now effectively removed.
It is nice to get that, but at the same time, I feel like if you're Cloud9, you can't make a trade like that again, because you've got this lead. You can just wait for the next dragon. You can just wait for possibly fighting, baiting a fight at Baron or something like that, and it looks like blue buff is taken. Oh, but Karza may pay for that. There's the ult on him. They're going to get the kill. Blue buff taken right back by Cloud9, going over to High. And this could lead to another objective or two.
And it looks like Cloud9 may want to set up for Baron. There's no threat of Smite, and there's still full vision of Maple.
Yep.
If Flash will start a fight, they are split up. You can see NL's trying to reposition with the rest of his team. There's no Hourglass on Lemon Nation or a Soul Shackle.
They've got
Keep
Mega
that
Gnar.
in mind. We do see that Righteous Glory's going in. Balls jumps backwards, doesn't manage to stun anybody up. And Meteos is tanking up the Flash Wolves for days. Baron's been stopped though, and the fight continues.
Yeah, Cloud9 pushed off of that one. Mega Gnar was there in time, but Yoi Flash Wolves, wisely backing off so to not get ulted like they did in that fight down by Dragons. So either way, C9 thought, hey, maybe we could get it backed off. Nobody killed. And can they defend this mid lane, though? It looks like they can.
Yeah, they are here at least. So kill into Kaz, a bit of a greedy play at first to try and steal that blue buff. gave their opening for Cloud9, but Yowie Flash Wolves are still doing a decent enough job, like staying in the game and not falling further behind at this point. We talked so much about this open inhibitor in the top lane. It's not like Cloud9 has anyone who's gonna like rush down and just instantly destroy it, because it's gonna be the two tanks split pushing, so it's gonna take a while to kill it if they ever get that far down. And that's again why I think the Yowie Flash Wolves will be okay in their point of view with the trade. And if they can keep, you know, Cloud9 just around this Baron and keep stopping it, you get further and further into the game where the death timers get longer and longer, and then one mistake suddenly is gonna cost you a lot. And that's could be a problem for Cloud9, despite them having such a good late game setup with all this armor they can stack against the Yowie Flash Wolves.
We do see their Cloud9 though, they've sort of stalled out on those inner turrets. Cloud9 have not made a big push down the lanes, been waiting for Flash Wolves to make plays, and it actually feels like Cloud9's put a lot of emphasis around the Dragon, because again, starting to get close to spawning time, Cloud9 have prioritized vision around Baron. At this stage in the game, you could start considering trades one way or the other.
I think it's starting to get a little bit dangerous for Cloud9, actually, when you think about where that late game Maokai is going to be. And despite the fact that, yeah, you can just build armor against the Flash Wolves, Caitlyn late game still does a ton of damage. So the later this game goes, even though Zed falls off, you see, you know, maybe Lissandra falling off, Corki falling off. Is Nar's presence and Sneaky's presence on Rek'Sai going to be enough to make up for that? I mean, where do you see these two teams, Deficio, if we go into this kind of super late game here?
I mean, super late game, I still feel like C9 will be in a good spot just to single out the Caitlyn, but it's not going to be like, oh, you have no chance of winning the fight for Yowie Flash Wolves' side. And again, that's the worry. If you go full late game when you have had this massive lead and you make a mistake, you're dead for like, what, 70 seconds, 80 seconds, suddenly Baron is gone, suddenly the enemy team can start pushing back down. Cloud9 in their case, you have Rek'Sai, you have Gnar, use them, apply pressure on the side lanes, use these minions to start a slow push potentially, and then spread out the Yowie Flash Wolves instead of allowing them to just stay together as a group, which we have seen for such a long time. Cloud9 is not playing the entire map, and that's kind of weird because normally they're very good at using the side lanes to their advantage.
While Dragon spawning has just spawned, you can see with Balls pushing the bottom lane and Cloud9 grouped up in the middle lane. They've committed to the tower. Meteor as well as High. He's flashed for that one. They've caught Maple out. We do see the Cataclysm coming up for Casa. He's trying to defend. The tower's going to fall in the background as Elimination goes golden.
Yeah, Stake getting into the back lines causing a little bit of trouble for Elimination as he gets taken out. Meanwhile, Balls has to jump away from that one. Sneaky got chunked out as well. And Stake just getting to be that super tanky Maokai. Meanwhile, Maple comes back in and grabs a kill. And Cloud9 with Dragon just coming up. Did they really need to try to dive that turret?
No, they did not. They could just keep poking on it, wait for Dragon to spawn. You had the good position to quickly move down to Dragon. After warding behind you, you could spot the Yowie Flash Wolves all the way down. They had no reason to dive right there. And at the same time, it's the same deal. You basically allow the Flash Wolves to stay together as 5 or 4, at least with a teleport, making it so much harder to make these plays here. Use the map to your advantage.
There's the Dragon for the Flash Wolves on Meteos. Burrows his way out of that one, but again, you just have to go back to that dive under the mid turret that High tried onto Maple. They could have, just like you said, backed out, taking that Dragon. It would have been their third, but now things are very questionable again.
Oh, Meteos may overcommit here, decides actually to back. Now we do see, Balls is teleporting from behind. They've caught NL.
Wow,
that's
Meteos.
Another kill, and Balls is continuing. He hops over, doesn't connect with the boomerang though, and force back, and that's actually slight role reversal. Now Balls in Stake. That's Mega Gnar against Mega Tree. Throws the chimney, and Stake manages to get away.
That's a sentence I never thought I'd hear a human being say, but it's a good job.
Go back to that Dragon play earlier. Cloud9 were caught out by Flash Wolves re-engaging. This time round, Flash Wolves are caught out by Cloud9 re-engaging, but teleport is down for Balls. So keep that in mind if they want to play those side lane pushes.
The game's getting a little bit sloppy, I think, on both sides at this point. Cloud9, I kind of am starting to say, I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of the desperation come in that we saw against the GE Tigers, but they don't really need to be that desperate, do they?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
No, of course not. I mean, you had a massive goal lead. You played it so well in the early game where you kept basically playing around the enemy jungle and denying them all the vision, and you could just get all the farm and you could push 2 lanes at once, and that was how you're going to set it up, and you could continue just to dive Stake, honestly, or push him away, take another tower in that case. And we've just seen for the last 10 minutes that Cloud9 seems to lack a plan of how are we going to close out this game. And that's why they keep dancing around this Baron itself that we've seen started and stopped a few times. Now they go for more of not a desperation dive in the mid lane, but just a bit too over-aggressive, honestly. And they get punished for it, buying more time for the Flash Wolves to really defend and go for this full late game where every mistake really counts.
Deficio, it was going to happen at some point this weekend, and I'm going to say it now. If Admiral Akbar were talking to the OE Flash Wolves in Cloud9,
Oh boy.
he would look at Baron and say, don't go for it, it's a trap. And at the moment, Ball's trying to play around the vision. He's going to get caught up by Stake, Doa.
Oh man, that's right. Balls manages to hop out on Stake's head. Stake taking a lot of damage actually on the way out.
But it's true, though. These teams, they're both focusing so much on Baron.
I mean, one team is trying to defend it, another team is trying to take it, so it's a bit of a weird dance going around here. Not exactly balls, though, you want to engage on from the Flash Wolves side. Means they get chunked, and Cloud9 back to the Baron here. If you manage to set a proper vision in this red side jungle, which you have had earlier, not just one layer outside the Baron, you need to go in around the Raptor camp, you need to go, ahead of the red buff, place some wards there so you can see the Flash Wolves move onto the Baron, and then of course have 2 pink wards in the river itself to deny vision around the Baron itself. Then you can maybe bait it, have the Lissandra jump over the wall to engage, but your wards are not placed aggressive enough, and it's too easy for the Yoi Flash Wolves to come and place their own wards and just stop you from starting this Baron here.
C9 just kind of gave up all their vision around Baron, didn't they?
Yeah,
Basically,
completely.
yeah.
It's such a weird game. Cloud9 have traditionally been such a smart team when pressing their advantage, when using team comps to their fullest potential. That failed tower dive is just completely hit the brakes. NL has got his hands on a QSS, the Last Whisper, working his way towards a Bloodthirster as well. All of the time that NL and the Flash Wolves needed is being given to them. We're 35 minutes in. Yes, the Flash Wolves are down 7k, but that is incrementally less at this stage in the game. And C9 just didn't necessarily use their lead they afforded earlier to the best of its ability, I feel.
Yeah, well, C9 still with the turret lead, still with the gold lead, but at this point it doesn't feel like it's making as much of a difference as it did before. Stake getting caught out by that dark binding, but C9 looking a little bit more cautious. But at this point, again, we talked about that desperation earlier. It seems to me like C9 can just kind of wait for the next dragon. It's 2 minutes. They can just kind of keep the lanes pushed up, right?
Sure, I mean, they can keep waiting for dragons, but they only got 2 so far. So
Yeah.
it's not really like the 5th dragon is getting close here.
It's true.
I want to see them go top lane here. Take this top lane wave, push it back so it starts pushing in towards this open inhibitor here from the Yoi Flash Wolves. And then you go back to mid lane, you push the mid lane up, and you have 2 lanes now, giving you information through the minions, where you can then walk in, or you can just engage the mid lane.
Oh, they're trying to engage on the tank, though. Let's see if it works out. Sordout's
he's
not
dead.
with the
It will.
team. Stake is down. The rest of Cloud9 grouping up as Balls is about to go Mega Gnar. Cloud9 can decide to keep this siege up. There's no front line from the Flash Wolves. They're going in. They've set their sights on this inhibitor turret, Doa.
Yeah, it's a good time for Mega Gnar to show up. C9 pushing towards this inhibitor turret. Remember, the inhibitor in top lane is vulnerable right now as well. A good dark binding could mean another kill or two. They still have 20 seconds until Stake comes up. Dragon in 1 minute. I think they're going back to get ready for it.
They will, because look at the side lanes here. There's no minions coming in, so they can just quickly rotate, take that tower. Yoi Flash Wolves will be able to spot it. And they only had like 3 or 4 minions in the mid lane pushing up, so couldn't really go for the tower there either.
Have they given up Baron pressure here? Cloud9, teleport is available, Void Rush is available. Flash Wolves, I was going to look, it might just be the vision game and see what Flash Wolves decide to do.
I think trying a Baron would be very dangerous for both teams at this point, but certainly the Yoi Flash Wolves dragging up in about 25 now for Cloud9. They've got their position to possibly take that wreck side, just going back to the top side jungle for C9. Edios going into lane again. And here's the point where we see if Balls can get Mega Gnar at the right time, and we see if C9 can win a big fight, because if they can win a big team fight here, that could be the kind of game-ending momentum starting for them.
It's what they need, yeah. They clearly don't really want to play like towards the side lanes. They want to go for 5-on-5 team fights. That's why they stay together. So if they can get one around this dragon, could be the opening for them. Balls is building up. He's Mega Gnar now. He's TPing in as well behind him.
Here we go, Cloud9. This is their opportunity. Where is Balls going to come from? There, coming from the blue buff as well. Yep, Yoi Flash Wolves backing away, and Balls, he's got his flash. He could try to flash ult perhaps. Meteos, they're going to go onto him now with Stake. Balls still a threat, and there's another big ult throwing Sardart against the wall. Sneaky into Cataclysm, gets jumped on by Maple. Balls getting a bit low, high in the middle of everything, just trying to keep things disrupted. Meteos goes back onto Maple again. Kills coming in for the Yoi Flash Wolves, so this is not going well for Cloud9. Only Meteos remaining. This could easily be an ace. Whoa, there he goes. Never mind.
So, notice what we see here from the Flash Wolves. They see teleport from a Mega Gnar, and they just kite. They just back away, they back away. Balls went in the last second he had it and got his ulti off. And then he just popped back into Mini Gnar. They could clean it up easily.
Yeah.
Very well played team fight here by the Flash Wolves. Knowing, okay, Lissandra ulti and Mega Gnar, those are the two things we're looking for. If we avoid those, we can win the fights here, because then suddenly Caitlyn has enough time to burn through these Mega Tanks and get the kills.
And you see Maple as well with great positioning throughout their fights. Now Flash Wolves, they had the vision, they've started off Baron.
Man, why Meteos didn't go back after he managed to escape in the topside jungle. If he had full health now, maybe he would have been able to do something about this Baron. But as things are at the moment, I think Yowie Flash Wolves are going to get this one pretty easily. And yeah, they will.
They will.
The number one team from the LMS region is currently holding the former number one team from the North American region. Cloud9 struggles in the NALCS have continued. Here's that
watch
team
this fight
fight to
one more
Fisher.
time.
Yeah, so look at the kiting here. You see the Mega Gnar, and they just keep backing away. Like, look at Maple. He's not going in. Nobody's engaging. The very last second before he does get his ulti off. But now, I mean, he's going back to Mini Gnar. Lissandra's not been able to do anything for high at all. And that's where the Flash Wolves can start cleaning up, because now Neverlose is safe. And look at Maple as well on his side. He's jumping 1v2. He's getting the kills. Just such a well-played team fight from them. And we really see how Cloud9 here, they don't have a plan. They don't know what to do. So all they look for is the dragon to respawn and a team fight. And that basically just got punished right there.
Yep, certainly seems that way. In that team fight, man, Maple just destroyed Sneaky too. His death mark is doing so much damage.
For sure. I mean, Maple played it well. I
Had a loss for words to Fisher.
Well, I was just looking at Balls here and like his lack of home guard. Not always a big fan on Gnar, because it's so hard to time it. Like you have to go back to base with the Mega Gnar. But it's making, I mean, it's tough now for Cloud9 to get the right engage unless they can get the flank onto the Flash Wolves and really get this Mega Gnar in there.
The thing is, right, Cloud9 stalled 15, 20 minutes ago. Cloud9 went for that tower dive 10 minutes ago, which put even more brakes on the team comp. And despite the obvious weaknesses in team compositions, Yowie Flash Wolves are simply playing team fights better. They are finding targets better. They are playing around Balls' Gnar better. Highs, Frozen Tombs have been somewhat desperate at times. And Flash Wolves have nullified the lead that Cloud9 had earlier. And look at this. Flash Wolves are knocking on Cloud9's inhibitor door.
Yeah, it's certainly getting a little bit dangerous for Cloud9 right now. At Baron buff, helping Maple push up the bot lane as well too. And you know, I wonder when the next time we will see a Gnar win a game is going to be. I just keep seeing this Gnar picked up post-patch, and we've seen people play it passably well. Yeah, Balls did have a good ult in this game, but just overall, it seems so rare that you see it, you know, well-coordinated in a team fight. Stay coming in on this one, and meanwhile, the mid-turret does go down. Cataclysm dropped. They're getting a lot of people low already. Karza Maple manages to get a kill. Sneaky picks one up himself, too. And Cloud9 forced to back away. This is going to be an inhibitor, possibly for Yowie Flash. No! He comes back in!
Oh, now we'll see if Maple can get out. Cloud9 managed to fend off the siege from the fact that NL went down. But I love the fact Yowie Flash was played around Balls' Mega Gnar.
Same again though, it got an inhibitor. NL this time around.
Just the turret to Fisher.
Yeah, almost.
Oh, just the turret,
yeah.
sorry.
You know, I feel like they would have gotten the inhibitor, but NL just walked so far forward that it was easy for High to come in and blow him up.
So let's see here. Balls was down the bottom lane to clear the wave, and now the fight breaks out at first. Stake in the front line with Karza. That's a perfect setup. You see how the Caitlyn is just standing auto-attacking. No damage onto her at the start of the fight.
Until
High saves his ulti. He's waiting for NL to come close enough.
Yeah, he walked way too far forward to get that last headshot.
But he's going to blow him up anyway. So once he goes in, binding as well, I mean, okay.
I guess he was planning on.
For him.
I guess he was planning on meleeing that inhibitor to death. I don't know. Caitlyn, not the best melee champion. Whoops.
great team fight, great defense from Cloud9. I think a little overly aggressive from Flash Wolves would be fair to say.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they started that well, they got rid of half of the front line from Cloud9.
Also well played by Cloud9 though.
You know what it does? It actually summarizes this entire game, doesn't it? Like aggressive plays, small mistakes, back and forth, and we've still got this partial stalemate. But Flash Wolves are now the ones dictating the tempo, dictating the pace of the game.
Well, they certainly are, yeah. I mean, they're kind of making Cloud9 play reactively now. And the Baron buff gone, I believe, off of Yowie Flash Wolves and everybody at this point. Yep, that's true. So that will even things out a little bit more for Cloud9, but still push back to that base.
And just to update people, we have 3 dragons for Yowie Flash Wolves and 2 dragons for Cloud9. So we're not getting close to the 5th one yet. But it's now in favor of the Flash Wolves. And they keep pushing down here. If they can keep Never Lose in the back, where he can just stand there and auto attack away, then he will burn through the tanks.
Eventually.
Eventually. He needs time.
Well,
as long as you can see the Lissandra engage and the Meganar,
you've got that
around.
range.
You do, indeed.
Balls getting charged towards Mega Gnar. I think that's the reason Flash Wolves are playing a little defensively. Keep an eye on that little timer. As long as there's minions, it's going to play into Balls' favor. We do hear the Void Rush. Where does Meteos want to go? He's looking from the sidelines. Does have home guards though. He's going in. Doesn't find a knockup yet, but he finds an Sword Art and Karsa.
Yeah, that's right. Karsa tries to come in with the Cataclysm. Balls in the back line now. Has used that hold already. C9 trying to kite back. Balls in big trouble. And look at this. NL just not even touched yet in that team fight. Now finally taking a little bit of damage. Dark Binding perhaps saving a couple members of C9, but here comes Ace in the hole. High force to ult himself. Does slow down some of the members of Yowie Flash Wolves though, but there's a nice heal from Sword Art. There's a dead Lissandra and an easily taken inhibitor for the Yowie Flash Wolves.
The Flash Wolves have taken Cloud9 down. 4 members of the North American squad are taken out in that team fight. NL and Maple run rampant.
Yep, NL got some good positioning in that team fight. Balls wasn't able to make the difference, and that is it. Cloud9 is eliminated, and the Yowie Flash Wolves survive to day 2 of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships.
It has not been a good group for the LCS squads.
It's been rough.
SK dispatched by GE Tigers. Yowie Flash Wolves stepping up, digging deep, and beating Cloud9 at the late game. Something that Cloud9 is famed for over and over and over. And simply not in it here in Katowice.
No, full credit to the Flash Wolves here. They really played the late game team fight so well. And also just on Cloud9's side here, not really having any tools to get to the Caitlyn late game. There's no home guards from, let's say, the Lissandra either. You go back, you get home guards, you sit in your base, and when they push up to your inhibitor, you just TP in behind them, or not TP, so you just rush in towards them, because you know they're pushing your base. That's the way you can get your engaged with the Lissandra potentially here in the late game. Instead, it was a Rek'Sai coming in, obviously didn't really do too much, and we just saw the last few fights how Flash Wolves managed to avoid losing despite having this pure physical damage lineup. Of all the armor and the early lead for Meteos, just didn't use it.
That's right. Well, it's time to send it back to the expert desk to see what their take on the game was.
All right, thank you very much. I'm at a loss for words, honestly. Congratulations, Yowie Flash Wolves, still in there, but Cloud9 is out. And it started, or it ended rather, the way it started for Cloud9, although it didn't look like it in the mid-game, because, again, that tower dive that was questionable in the beginning, it's just very un-Cloud9.
Now, we thought that the winner of this game, at least personally, would be the one coming out ahead in the laning phase. And Meteos on the Rek'Sai really was showing that he knew how to play the champion and was just really snowballing the lanes for Cloud9. But when it came down to closing the game and acting as a unit out of the laning phase, it just was not there. The engages, the teleports, trying to combo them with the engages. Now, Gnar actually managed to purchase the cooldown reduction on the flash and the teleport, signifying that perhaps there's a little more synergy there that we may not know about. And it's a lie. It wasn't there.
Well, I mean, just coming into this game too, I think Meteos, we had a lot of discussions about this on the desk in terms of his itemization, because when you go up 7-0 in kills on a jungler, certainly it's an unorthodox situation, but at that point, do you just build a Hydra right there and try and like duel the Zed, try and get that split push going with Rek'Sai? You're on this very mobile champion on the map. You can put down a lot of pressure by yourself and nullify that Zed to a certain degree and therefore kind of win more lanes. Because if we think about it right there, Cloud9, he'd gotten his lanes ahead, but he was the really big one right there. Can't he just keep like pushing to that advantage?
And we flirted with the idea of perhaps going and investing, even though you have to pay a little bit more to switch it. The kills were coming in before the completed jungle item. Maybe go for a skirmisher's blade, a skirmisher's saber in the jungle. Now all of a sudden, Zed has no chance of dueling you with a Hydra on top of that, and now you actually have a way of winning the game without having to practice on that synergy that was, is depressing.
Yeah, you actually, go ahead.
Team fighting and strategical play was something that Cloud9 were always really good at, right? And when this game got to, okay, now we have to group up and start to figure out how we're going to end this game, the strategical side of it, they just look lost. They look absolutely lost.
Well, and also I think you have to really credit Sword Art because he had some very clutch monsoons. Both him and Maple really turned a lot of those team fights around. Maple found people on the periphery that he could assassinate or zone out, and Sword Art was so good at holding those monsoons until the last possible second to open up space for NL to auto-attack.
I also feel like that game really showcased why Maokai has been a really strong pick for teams that or top lanes that are kind of struggling a little bit. You know, you have a really good itemization to just become a really strong tank line. You have the AoE damage reduction, and you have a point-and-click lockdown that you can just use for anybody that fails to engage properly. And then we have this replay which showcases exactly that. Now you have at the top side, Balls teleporting into the blue pit, trying to go for a really odd flank. And you have the Flash Wolves kiting back. They have the speed trend that's really important. So Cloud9 can't really go and push out of this area now because that would give the Flash Wolves the advantage. He uses the hop over this, and at this point, when Meteos commits to using his E, he's all of a sudden completely vulnerable. A Maokai W gets him out of the fight right from the get-go because he has no way of hitting the back line. And I think the hero for this fight happened to be Maple because now he's the one that's hitting the back line. He ultis the Corki, gets him out of the fight, forces him to Valk out, and now you have Maple, Caitlyn surviving with the incredible monsoon and just dishing out free autos everywhere.
And you have to point out right there too that the Lissandra ultimate came in after Cataclysm was already laid down. Jarvan was really a very poor target to use that Lissandra ultimate on right there. We've talked about Cloud9 having these issues playing Lissandra. Balls hasn't really shown up on it. High hasn't shown up on it. And you have to be better in the late game about selecting targets. Obviously, it's not a skill shot, but it is critical that you get it on the right person. With Jarvan already landing all of his AoE, popping out of the Cataclysm, they had great zone for Caitlyn. It could have been held longer.
Yeah, we were discussing the Caitlyn pick before, and I also saw Candy Panda tweeting that it's not so good early. We've seen it a couple times here. What if it was all thought through from the Yowie Flash Wolves? They knew that Cloud9 would be able to close it out. They had looked at that first game, and they wanted to go for that, Monty.
Bravo to them.
Caitlyn is a good pick if you can get over that power trough. You know, we talk about it in the early game. You can get the fast push down. You can harass people out of lane. But then she just enters this very extended fallow period. But I mean, 6-item Caitlyn is still a 6-item Caitlyn. You're going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage at that very long range, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, we did. So they pull it out here, and let's go over to Chobra because he's got Steak with him for a post-game interview.
Thank you, Shox, and I am indeed here with Steak. I'm very excited to stand next to Steak in his beautiful hair, but congratulations are in order for winning that losers match and staying in the competition here in Group A. So congratulations. How do you feel?
恭喜你，我们想知道你现在感觉怎么样？
感觉没有很开心，因为我们今天是打得没有很好，对，但是我们明天表现还好，第二场后面的表现有比较稳一点。
So at first, I'm very happy that, but at first we had a lot of mistakes that we made, but we're still really happy with our win today.
Sounds good. You should be. And yeah, let's talk about that first game a little bit. The first game seemed a little bit rough for you, and especially for you on Gnar. There seemed to be some team communication issues with your teleport, and you guys looked just a little bit dazzled by your opponent's SK Gaming. Just what were your talks after that game? How did you recover from that match?
你第一场玩那儿的时候可能有点沟通问题，可不可以给我们分析一下，你是怎么做什么样的改变才能恢复状态？
因为我们第一场只是输给是我们输给我们自己，因为我们打不好，所以第二场我们基本上都知道我们应该会赢的。
Okay, so we learned a lot of what we had to do from our first game, and so we made a lot of changes because of that.
Well, sounds good. Of course, as the result shows, you did indeed. But even in the second game against Cloud9, Meteos was everywhere in that early game, ganking all around the map, of course, taking a lot of kills, and it looked like he was going to help C9 take the win. Did you ever feel like it was slipping away too far, or did you have faith in your late game composition, even if it was all AD?
你跟第二场打 Cloud9 的时候，看起来 Meteos 在全地图上都在，可不可以给我们分析一下，就是你们是不是有信心，到后期你们可以赢的？
因为我们拿到很多后期角，所以 然后又是我们很熟悉的角色，所以我们知道我们只要撑到后面，我们一定会赢。
对不起，可不可以再说一遍？
因为我们拿到很多后期角，然后这些角色又刚好是我们熟悉的角色。
Okay, so we relied on our team composition because we knew that we would outscale them in the end.
All right, so having that faith in the picks and bans. Now, the talk for the Flash Wolves all weekend is confidence, proving yourselves, and showing the world what you have. You've gone 1-1 so far. Where is that confidence? Do you still feel pretty good, or do you feel that you actually need to try harder to prove something?
想知道如果你现在有信心吗？或者你要再证明一下自己？
我们应该可以赢 SK 啊，我觉得。
He feels like we should be able to be SK.
Okay, well, yeah, that was my last question. So the rematch, you're confident that you'll be able to take it this time and move on to the playoffs in the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship?
你估计你这一场会赢吗？会不会到半决赛？
我觉得机会蛮大的，我们应该有机会赢 SK。对，我们应该是可以跟 SK 打。
I have a lot of faith that we'll be SK, so yes.
All right, we'll see if those words stay true tomorrow in the deciders match for Group A. But that's it. Once again, congratulations to the Flash Wolves for winning that losers match and going to the last match of Group A. Back to the expert desk.
Thank you very much, Chobra, Steak, and Rachel for that interview. As he said, tomorrow up against SK Gaming, and let's take a look at the bracket one final time for Group A, as we now have all matches completed in that one for now, at least, as we'll see tomorrow. GE Tigers, of course, already qualified for the semifinal, and then we'll have SK Gaming up against the Yoi Flash Wolves for that second spot in the semifinal from Group A. Before we talk about SK Game versus Yoi Flash Wolves, Crumbs, you should stand by your convictions. When I said that you said that you don't think Cloud9 could beat them, you said no, but it turned out to be right.
It felt like they had a holy barrier that just could not allow Cloud9 to close the game out, and
it was made of steak.
Perfectly cooked.
Perfectly tenderized by that top lane initial harass.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll get you.
But SK Gaming versus the Yoi Flash Wolves. Tomorrow, have we seen enough from the Yoi Flash Wolves? Some good engages there in the late game, playing their comp correctly in the end. I mean, we have to give praise where praise is due. But versus SK Gaming, I don't see the same scenario.
Well, there is a little bit more of a rubric of how to play against SK right now, considering, I think, the successful banning phase that the GE Tigers deployed against them. So there will be a little bit of variation in terms of their pick and ban. Now, can they actually close this out? The thing about SK is that they are a much more punishing team when it comes to snowballing the game and just playing very disrespectfully, very aggressively, and continuing to just press their advantage. So I don't think we're going to see as much diddling around in the mid-game as we saw from Cloud9.
I do think it's going to be a closer match than the first time around that we saw the Flash Wolves versus SK, just because the one dimension that SK seems to be playing at, and with a proper ban phase, as we saw the GE Tigers use against them, it really hindered their ability to kind of play that same style out, particularly the Annie from N-Rated, which by getting the Lulu out of the picture, then all of a sudden you no longer have the ability to protect your AD carry and really just drop the whimsies on any assassins trying to get into the backline.
Yeah, and that's a big thing as well. I actually saw N-Rated outside and pretty devastated actually after that loss, and that makes me think, how strong mentally here are SK Gaming. Obviously they've already shown the flaws. They've played here today like they play usually in the domestic league, which kind of points me to say, if they're just playing one style, you've got to be able to counter that style. And yes, they didn't do it today, but maybe tomorrow with the right amount of watching that game back, watching the GE Tigers back, and watching maybe some LCS games back even, maybe they can pull that one out.
Yeah, we will see tomorrow. That's it for Group A, though, when we're on the cusp of breaking into Group B. And to prepare us for that, we have Cho on stage with Edward and Mad Life.
That's right, everyone. We're back here on a global stage right here in Katowice, the rivalry between Gambit Gaming and CJ Entus. We have two of the oldest members of both organizations right now. We have Mad Life for CJ and Edward for Gambit. I want to know if they have anything to say to each other after having played so many times in the past. 그럼 이제 여러 번 예전에도 만났던 팀인데 상대로서 특별히 에드워드 선수에게 정말 메라 선수는 서폿의 신으로서 불렸던 선수인데 할 말이 있는지 궁금하네요.
이제 오랜만에 뵀는데 예전이나 지금이나 항상 잘하신 것 같더라고요. 그래서 오늘 경기로 누가 더 잘하는지 한번 겨뤄봤으면 좋겠습니다.
Well, we've met several times for sure, and I always thought Edward played really well. But I think tonight we'll really be able to say who gets to go on top and who's the better support in this world. What do you have to say to that, Edward?
I know we played so much together, but most of the time we won, of course. But I guess a pleasure to play against Medley because he's one of my favorite supports to look at, and it's just gonna be a fun game.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to be the opening match in Group B, everyone. I hope you're all excited for Gambit Gaming up against CJ Entus in Group B for League of Legends here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship in Katowice. We'll be back after this break.